Hey, welcome to Keight's Crafts. I'm Keight. Today I would like to share with you a secret hidden money card that I recently made for my niece's birthday. Let's get started. Starting off, I am cutting down all of my pieces of paper that I will need for today's project. I'm cutting these down because my Sizzix Big Shot is only 6 inches across and I need to be able to fit the paper through. So I've gone ahead and used the Mama Elephant Circle Combo Creative Cuts, and I've already gone ahead and cut out my main pieces for my focal point. So once I'm happy with that, I will use the outside in stitch square stackable. Yes, I picked up the square stackable, and I've gone ahead and cut another piece out so I can make kind of like a backdrop to it. Now I want to keep this, ideally I wanted to keep this card to 5 by 7 inches, but you'll see later on that I run into a little bit of a problem because, again, my Sizzix Big Shot is only 6 inches across and not 7. So once I'm happy with what I have here, I'm going to test it out one more time just to see what kind of color combination that I want to have, and I will add on these guys just to make sure, because my thought process for this, I had the idea in my mind, but it was kind of like, how do I execute this properly? So I'm kind of working through the ideas as I go. Initially I was going to have it flat, but I end up using a lot of foam tape. So here I'm just kind of getting the sentiment down first, so that way I don't have to put a sentiment on the front of the card once I have everything assembled. So I'm just trying to pick out which one I want from the Lawn Fawn All-Star stamp set. I was able to score this one on discount, but they didn't have the dies for it, so I kind of lucked out. But luckily, the Out of This World stamp set had a small enough circle die to cut out the what do you call it, the soccer ball or the football, depending on what country you're from. It didn't leave the white border, but you know, I wasn't going to be too picky about it because my niece is a soccer fan. She likes playing soccer, so I thought I'd do soccer theme. So once I've got the sentiment stamped out, I am going to use a little bit of glue and some easy tape runner here to tape along the back and glue it all together, and I'm going to stack this up. Now I didn't use any foam tape on this focal point because I didn't want to have too much bulk, as the biggest envelope I have is a 5 by 7, and I wasn't sure that I really wanted to attempt to make my own envelope because I suck at making envelopes, and I'm lazy, and I have a lot of 5 by 7 envelopes for some reason. Probably because they're not my go-to card. Maybe one day I might. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm taking the two circles that I've already glued together and gluing on top of that weird one that almost looks like a flower or a gear, depending on how you look at it, but I decided to cut this out of 2 different colors just to kind of give a little more interest to it. I seen that they did this on one of the Mama Elephant YouTube videos, and I thought it looked quite neat. And my niece really likes the pastel colors, so I thought these colors looked rather subtle together, so it wasn't too loud and exciting, but it was just exciting enough. So here I'm kind of keeping in mind that I want to keep my card at a 5 by 7, so I'm taking these 2 squares and offsetting them a little bit just to keep them in that 5-inch mark. Depending on which way you look at it. So again, I'm going in with some tape runner and some glue, and I'm going to use my grid mat here to line everything up that I need to, and I want to be able to carefully line up the second square that I used, the outside in stitched square stackable by Lawn Fawn. Yes, those are always a mouthful to say. I always struggle with them, and sometimes I end up having to retake that like quite a few times just to get the tongue twister out. It's a good thing I wasn't drinking wine. That would have been even harder. So I'm just taking the centerpiece here and lining it up onto my offset squares, using my grid mat again to make sure that this is all lined up. Trying not to be too picky, But once I've got that all glued together, then it's time to add on my little critters. Now, I've already gone ahead and colored them. I will leave the Copic colors that I used for the critter in the description box below. It's just a bunch of pastels of B's and BG's and RV's and the C colors. And the R20, of course, for the pink cheeks. So I thought I'd cut that out because this video is already long enough, and I don't know, I wanted to get to the meat and the potatoes of this because I was rather excited making this card. Initially I wanted to use a Lawn Fawn lift the flap, but I realized that the lift the flap is just that, lift the flap. It's not what is it, perforated? Yeah, it's not perforated, so I would need an alternative item to keep the flaps closed. So I had remembered that I had bought a while back the My Favorite Things Nugget label, window, and frame Die-namics set from a Facebook group, and I've been itching to use it but didn't really know how I wanted to use it. So here you see I have the 5x7 piece of paper that I'm adding everything to, and I'm thinking, well, I'll add this to my card. And again, this is where the whole Sizzix thing comes into play. It's like I need the really big Sizzix, or what's the other one? The competitor's one that's got, like, I think it's 8-inch or something. So because this won't fit through my Sizzix, I am using my Guillotine trimmer, and I am trimming it down to 5.5, I guess. Yeah, that looks about 5.5. I had to put a little mark on the left side of my Fiskara trimmer because it only goes up to just over 5 inches, so I use that to kind of eyeball how I need my card to be too, so it'll fit. I mean, it won't be the length of a 5x7 envelope, but she'll like it either way. Or she did, at least. She thought it was pretty neat, if you had to know. So I'm just taking my T-square ruler here and trying to be a little scientific about where I put it, because I want to be able to create a pocket to tuck some money in. So, and I was quite pleased with myself for this one. It took a lot of figuring out how to figure out I wanted to do this, and I just wanted to have a card, and I didn't want to just tuck money into it. I wanted to kind of it be a surprise, and I don't know. You could see that I pulled up a little bit of the paper there, but not to worry. So you see how it's perforated, so she'll be able to tear this open and see the surprise inside. So in order for her to be able to do that and have something in there, I have to use foam tape to create a little bit of space. So this is almost like making a shaker card, but not adding any shaker bits, so to speak. So I'm just measuring out my foam tape here just to kind of, so I don't have to measure it all the time. And then I will use these strips to create my well. So you don't want to go right up to the edge there. You want to make sure that you have enough room to be able to put the money that you're going to be tucking away, or whatever it is that you want to put in there, that's relatively flat. So because Canadian dollars are made out of a plastic polymer, I use my bone folder to kind of fold them down the best that I can. In your country, your money might not be made out of plastic, so you might not have to use a bone folder to score it down to make sure that it'll fit into your little well here. So once I've pulled off all of the release tape here, and I used quite a bit, I will add in some glue. And I wanted to make sure that there was enough foam tape to kind of prop up the front of the card, because I put a lot of layers on the front of the card, and I didn't want it to sag too much. But so once I've got all that glue in there, I'm going to carefully put my plastic money, Canadian dollar, in there, and then I'm going to glue everything down so that money is hidden all inside. So because I had that little tear on the top of the card above the little lift the flap, you can kind of see it there, it really bothered me and I needed to cover it up. So I decided to take some extra strips of the scraps that I had, and I ended up cutting them down to a rectangle of, I think it was like 5.5 or something like that. And then I cut it on the diagonal, so I have these funky little shapes with the patterned paper. So I'll just take that and kind of eyeball where I want it, and then I will glue it down. And then I will take this side and kind of do the same thing. So this is where your mistakes can be covered, and I was rushing through this at this point because I was quite giddy with how it was all coming together, and I could not wait just to pop over to my sister's house and bring it to my niece because I thought this card was kind of cool. So once I'm done that, I'm thinking, well, I should probably put a sentiment in there, and I kind of mess up here. You should always move your project out of the road of destruction because you're always bound to screw things up. And that's exactly what I did. So here I'm just thinking, well, maybe I'll use my stamp positioner, and then it's like too big, and then I end up dropping the stupid lid of my Ink on 3 onto my card. So I look, excuse the hand gestures, and I think, oh, crud. I gotta fix this one too. So I'm looking for any extra scrap pieces of scrap paper that I have from the colors that I use to try and cover up that little faux pas. And I think this pink one will do, so I add a little bit of tape runner and I cover that up. I was so disappointed in myself because I know better than to throw things around like that, but when you're in the midst of a craftnado or a crafter cane, depending on where you are in the world, sometimes these things happen and you just gotta give it the finger. Like I did, so pardon my hand gestures. I was just throwing up a few signs. So once I've got that mistake all covered up, I'm going to be extra careful here, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment on an angle. So once I'm happy with that, it's your birthday, have a ball, I'm going to add in the extra little balloons that I had originally thought to use on the front, but decided there wasn't enough room, and I'm going to add them to the inside of the card. So next up, I need to tell my niece that she can lift up this little flap because there's something inside. And of course, I kind of went over with the stamps, but the stamp set was just too darn cute. It's got these little tiny sayings that says lift and pull and press, and I don't know, I got it in a bundle off of Facebook, so I'm not 100% sure what the names of the other ones are, but it's like, I think there was one that I'd seen Carrie Rhodes use where it was like a lip balm one, and it came with little blister packs and then the little tear thing for the back of the package, and once I saw that, I knew I had to hunt this one down, so there's my finished card. I'm your biggest fan, and it's my niece kicking a soccer ball because she's a stinker, but I love her. And on the inside, it's your birthday, have a ball, pull, lift, tear here. And there's my card. Yay! I had a lot of fun making this, and she enjoyed opening it. So if you've enjoyed today's content or found it helpful, please give this video a like. I also welcome you to subscribe, as I post weekly. Here's another video I think you might enjoy. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Take care.